council meeting for, excuse me, I can't read, Wednesday, August 23rd to order. Please, after the pledge, keep the Orovitz, Tomlinson, Klotz, and Sabunia families in your prayers.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Saposley, roll call, please.
Mr. Delaney. Here. Mr. Dern is not present. Mr. Doyle.
Here.
Mr. Hadley.
Here.
Mr. Seitz.
Here.
Mr. Taylor.
Here.
Mr. Vento.
Here.
Mayor Schlegel.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. I entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month of July 2023. Motion by Mr. Hadley, seconded by Mr. Dern. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Also need a motion to approve the expenses for the month of July 2023.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Seitz, seconded by Mr. Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the July 10th, 2023 council meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hadley, second by Mr. Seitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Mayor, recognition of achievements in the community.
Thank you. The only thing I have is I want to say a heartfelt thanks, I think the whole community, to our first responders. For what happened here 10 days ago. Our volunteer firemen are supposed to be cutting grass, taking their kids to Little League, and they had to go to a tragedy. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Civic announcements. Mr. Sims?
Gentlemen, good evening. James Sims, the Chief of the Holiday Park Volunteer Fire Department and also the Emergency Management Coordinator. I have a couple of announcements on behalf of my fire department first, and I'd like to return to the podium under public safety for some emergency management comments. If that's okay. A couple things going on in our fire department. In September is National Preparedness Month. We've been doing this for several years now, and we offer free training. On Wednesday, September 13th is CPR and AED. On September 20th is First Aid and Stop the Bleed training. And on September 27th is the Home Fire Safety and Fire Extinguisher course. Registrations through our website or actually through our Facebook page on the sign up for any of those courses. These are free and they're open to any citizen from Plum Boro. Super Bingo is September 23rd. Tickets are on sale now. We sold out in May, so if anybody's interested, please contact our station to get your tickets for Super Bingo. October 14th is our Gun Bash. Tickets are on sale, and there are still Gun Bash tickets available. So a couple things. We cannot emphasize, and I can't speak for all 4 fire departments, but I'm going to kind of speak for all 4 fire departments. Number one, please, if your CO detector goes off, if your smoke detector goes off, if you smell, you think you have a strange odor in your house, whatever it may be, you have to call 911. It is so important that you reach out and have emergency services on scene. We had an incident last week where a gentleman thought it was gas in his home. He called the fire department. We arrived and we found out it was actually sewer gas. He had a dry trap in his basement. We dumped some water down his drain. It went away. We checked his home with our meters, and we found no readings of gas. We found no readings of CO. But it's important that you call 911 if you feel there's something wrong in your house. You know, there's a plug sparking. We had a call, woman pulled out her curling iron and made a big spark in the plug. So she called. We got there, and actually it wasn't the plug at all. She had a bad cord on her curling iron. It was actually broke through. Why she didn't get shocked, I don't know. So these are the type of things. Call the fire department. We're here. You're not bothering us. You're not bothering any of us to come out. I don't care if it's 2 in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the morning. Please call us. We're here to help you. We're here to serve you. Mayor, just as you thanked us, On behalf of all the fire departments, we want to thank the outpouring of support we received from the community, not only on August 12th, but ever since then. You've often talked about people bring baked goods to the police department. You make a joke about Jenny Craig or whatever. I can
like me.
Yeah, I can tell you, there's not a day that goes by that someone does not stop at my fire station. And I'm easy to get to. I'm going down my highway. There's not a day that goes by that doesn't stop someone to stop by with a dozen donuts from someplace, or a plate of homemade cookies, or a plate of homemade or a dish of homemade cupcakes. You know, it's just a pure outpouring of support that we have received. Tyler Mountain Water dropping off a pallet of water at every fire station. It's just amazing. It's just amazing to see what this community is all about. I've lived in this community since 1965, and that's why I went to college and came back and served as a police officer and continue to serve in public safety, because that's the type of community that we live in, and all the departments appreciate it. We also want to thank our neighboring fire departments for the assistance on August 12th. They came. They worked with us not only at the scene, but we had neighboring fire departments in our station. We were running out of resources, and I called a friend of mine who's the chief of Cochrane Hose down in the borough of Squigley. Cochrane Hose set an engine with 5 people, and they staffed my station from about 3 in the afternoon until we got back and got cleaned up at 11:30 at night. I mean, that's the brotherhood of the fire service that I always talk about. They came out. They stayed. Matter of fact, I really used to thank them because they took my trash out and things while they were in my station. I really appreciate them coming to stand by. On behalf, we also want to thank Plum EMS. Brian Maloney and the team he assembled that day on August 12th I don't have enough good words to say to them. His team, he will probably comment on this, his team evaluated 57 firefighters for rehab. After we spent so long on the fire scene, we sent everybody to rehab. They were evaluated, blood pressures were taken, they were hydrated. Some were there for 15, 20 minutes, and we had one in there for an hour until he got his blood pressure down. He was hydrated enough to go back to work. Fortunately, we had nobody transported, and every firefighter who was on scene went home safely without injuries, and that's in a big part because the services provided by Brian, Plum EMS, and the team he had together that day. I also want to comment and thank and compliment Bill Benny and the Public Works crew from Plum Boro. These gentlemen were put into a situation for that Saturday and Sunday on the 12th and 13th. They probably never expected when they thought they'd get a job in Public Works. And the things that they saw and the things they were involved in, and they've been very active since that day. As the emergency management coordinator, anything I've requested from Bill, he was right on the spot. Such as up at the Rustic Ridge, they had therapy horses last night for a back to school program. And they needed a place as a fence to build a corral. I called Bill. I'll take care of it. You know, him and his team and his crew have been very instrumental since that day, and it's made my life not only as a fire chief but also as the emergency management coordinator really easy. And I compliment him. I also want to compliment Kevin Fields and his performance since the day of the incident on August 12th. Going to homes, checking on it. He was there immediately on scene to assist, and he performed as a true professional. So, as you thank us, we want to thank everybody who supported us, because without the support that we received, we can't perform at the level that we did on those days, and we've continued to perform since the date of the incident. Thank you for your time.
Hey, Jim,
Thanks,
quick
Jim.
question.
Yes.
To your knowledge, people have asked me this question. Is there such a detector, like a smoke detector, that people can buy to detect natural gas?
Actually, there is, and you can go to Home Depot, you can go to Lowe's, you can obviously Amazon. There's various different ones. The ones I have at my home, and I do not recommend, promote, endorse, you know. I use the KIDDE. It's a 4-gas meter, and it will do natural gas, methane, propane, and carbon monoxide. I have 2 in my home because gas is lighter than air. I have 2, so I have 2 in my home. It's plugs in the wall, plus it has a 9-volt battery backup. I've had mine for a couple of years now. So yes, you can. The good one. Now you got to watch, because if you look at Amazon, they're from $9 to the one I have, which is I think is $44, $49. You get what you pay for it, you know. But I've had no problem with mine. So there are detectors available throughout through the home supply places, or like everything else, Amazon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Any other civic announcements this evening? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here in the agenda. Since Mr. Dern is not here for his Public Safety Committee report, and he normally has Brian Maloney from EMS come up and speak, I'm going to ask Brian to come up now.
Thank you. Brian Maloney, Director of Operations, Plum EMS, and as always, I appreciate the opportunity to be up here. First thing I just want to talk about, upcoming in September, we do have our annual car seat safety check. We're actually, once again, Holiday Park, Volunteer Fire Department is hosting it for us. We're going to have probably close to 20 volunteers to make this happen. It's a relatively big event, and we usually get a good turnout. So, keep your eyes open for the registration link. It's been sent out. We're going to continue doing a good push for that. So we appreciate everybody's help for that. And I know typically when I come here, I talk a lot of statistics, numbers and everything. And one of the things I talk about is the need for mutual aid to come into Plum to assist, to make sure that there's EMS in Plum. And what had happened on August 12th, we needed our neighboring agencies to come in to be here for this community. And it was just one of the most amazing things to see all these pieces come together, very similar to the fire departments. In the end, like Chief Sims talked about, we did evaluate 57 firefighters to prevent any type of heat exhaustion or worse, heat stroke. And it was just amazing to see the fact that, we had the team of people to be able to make that happen. We actually ended up getting 11 ambulances in Rustic Ridge during that event. 2 of them were Plum EMS. We had 3 from Penn Hills. We had 3 from New Kensington and 3 from Murraysville Medic 1. And these are the people that are on our run cards. So when something happens, and when I talked to Allegheny County 911, I said, send me ambulances, send me 5. I ended up getting 9, but hey, I'll take it because we needed it at that time. We also had additional resources called response units. We had them from AHN, UPMC, and then we even had a physician come in from Forbes Hospital on their vehicle. We were ready for what may be thrown at us at that point in time. I asked for 2 rehab units, I got 4. We had our Plum EMS Special Operations truck, we had Murraysville Medic 1 rehab, we had Breckenridge rehab, we also had North Huntington EMS rehab. These are all part of the system. When something like this happens, this is where all the pieces come together. But one of the things I can't say enough, and a lot of times these are the people that are behind the scenes, is the 911 dispatchers. There was 28 pages of notes from that one incident. And that's just from the EMS side of things as I was looking through this, 28 pages. And so bless that, they call it TCOs, or telecommunication operator, or 911 dispatcher, bless their hearts, because I'm not always the easiest to work with. I can be a little demanding, at times overwhelming. But they met every need that we needed that day, and they made sure it was there. So I can't speak highly enough. We had Allegheny County Emergency Management coordinators that show up, and an EMS specialist, and they at one point were there for nothing but me to say, okay, how about thinking about this? How about doing that? And that was a phenomenal thing, because at one point in time I was being pulled in 300 directions. So I can't say enough about that. We had, at one point in time, the road get completely blocked, so we had no way, if we had patients, how to get people in or out. And so I asked for 2 ATVs, I got 4. Holiday Park brought theirs, Murraysville brought theirs, Monroeville brought theirs. So it was just amazing. And even like everyone's talking about this outpouring of community support has just been unbelievable. But one of the big things too is that as this was occurring, there were so many people that wanted to help and be there. During this time, I had 19 missed calls on my phone, or calls I wasn't going to take, 9 voicemails, 48 unanswered texts. And these were people from the area, from the region, from the Commonwealth, saying, Brian, what can we do for you? What do you need? What does Plum need? And so that's what public safety is. We try to be there for each other as much as we can. And we did see everything that this community did for each other. But one of the things that was just the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life, and I haven't seen it in 25 years of working in public safety. When I first got there, it was about 20 minutes after this incident occurred. I realized the road was already getting blocked off for the hose lines being laid across the road. I knew things were going to get worse. It was a hot day. People were walking almost a mile with their equipment to get to that scene because they couldn't park close enough. And so we needed rehab set up right off the bat. And I knew it was going to be so difficult to get the rehab unit and their equipment in. And so one of the things I said to, I don't even know if it was to a neighbor or a person, we need water. We need help for these folks. And within minutes, it was the most unbelievable thing. We had cases of water, we had food, people brought chairs to us, they brought fans. When the electricity got cut out, someone hooked up a generator. It was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in my life. It was a miracle. Because within minutes, we had a full functioning rehab center. And someone opened up their house. I believe someone related to our Schlegel here. We used the garage as that rehab and treatment center. I ended up using the dining room as my command, as EMS command post at one point in time. It was just the most incredible thing I had ever seen when you talk about that sense of community. People were showing up with wheelbarrows full of water and wagons they were pulling in. I would never be able to say enough about that. It was such a horrific and tragic event. And it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done, especially when I found out who some of the unaccountable were, to try to stay focused at that time. But then to see how everybody was stepping up, it was because of that community, that neighborhood, that those firefighters were able to get bottled water, ways to cool off. I mean, it was amazing. It was a great team that we all put together, but I just wanted to say thank you to that neighborhood. Thank you to the Schlegels for literally opening up their house to us. Because if it wasn't for all of that, this situation could have been even worse than what it was. So, question, comments, finger gestures. All right,
Thanks,
thank
Brian.
you very much.
Just a big thank you to
Obviously, everybody, thank you.
Putting in the clock.
What's that? I just want to, in regards to emergency management, I just want to bring you up to speed on some of the emergency management events that have occurred. Myself and my assistant emergency management coordinator, Greg Fuska, sitting in the crowd this evening, we were on scene. Actually, since I was operations command, Greg took over the emergency management role for the entire day on the August 12th. We have been involved since that day with different roles and different responsibilities. So the emergency management team from Plum has been working closely with Allegheny County Emergency Services. I just want to give you an update from the People's Gas safety call today. People's Gas is in the Rustic Ridge neighborhood. They are conducting home safety checks, home safety inspections. They want to emphasize this is just out of caution, and that there's not a problem. They're doing this out of caution. They want to give everybody a sense of feeling safe back in their home again. That they can be in their home and feel safe. As of this afternoon's phone call, they have completed 109 home and safety inspections, or almost 48% of the neighborhood, and they're going to continue. As of today, they found 2 minor leaks at meters. They have been repaired. They had 1 individual that refused them entry into their home. They had 2 red tag appliances, 1 range, 1 dryer. Those appliances were shut off inside the house at the appliance, and their home was not disconnected. They have found no service leaks on any part of their inspections. They're asking anybody who lives in Rustic Ridge that if you received a card on your door, that the gas company was there and knocked on your door, they ask you to call that number so they can come back and do your home inspection. They'll come in the evening. So if you have work during the day and you can't be there, you call the number, they'll make arrangements to come in the evening and come in. You have to be there for them to come into your home. You can't say, hey, my front door's left open, come on in. You have to physically be there for them to come. They want to get every house done. They've added 2 more service technicians, so there's now 10 working in the neighborhood. And so they're in the Rustic Ridge neighborhood. Please allow them to check what they're looking for. And just as I mentioned, they also want to emphasize the fact that if you smell gas, please call 911. Tomorrow, there's been some posts out there through Plum Emergency Management, Allegheny County Emergency Services, and PEMA. Plum Boro is hosting they call it a MARC, M-A-R-C. It stands for Multi-Agency Resource Center. It's going to be in our gymnasium from noon to 8. It is strictly for Rustic Ridge residents. And will be police at the door. They'll be checking IDs if you come to get in. And what a MARC is, it's a lack of a better term, it's a trade show. So we've arranged for many organizations as possible for the folks at Rustic Bridge that may need help, whether they were affected or not affected. We don't have the whole community of the Rustic Bridge. Plum Boro Emergency Management, Allegheny County Emergency Services will be there. The Rustic Bridge HOA will be there. Plum Boro has put together a list of information sheet. They'll have a table there. So if you need demolition, you think you need home repairs, there'll be a list of what you need to accomplish these tasks, whether it's demolition, whether it's permitting the home repairs, what the rules and regulations are. The Red Cross will be there. Allegheny County Human Services will be there. United Way will be there. Catholic Charities. PennDOT will be there. So if your home was destroyed and you need your driver's license renewed, they'll be there. Pennsylvania Vital Records will be there. The Pennsylvania Department of Insurance Industry will be there. So if you're having problems with your insurance company, you can talk to them. And there's also be counseling and available services to those residents there. If you need kids, you have kids, they're bringing certified babysitters. We have a room set up so your kids can go in the playroom while you talk to one of these consultants there. So this is from noon to 8 tomorrow in the gymnasium in this building. It is, like I said, it's restricted to the Rustic Ridge residents, and we encourage you to come out because the Department of Veterans Affairs will be there. There's an organization called SWPA 211. They have resources to everything. It's a resource, a giant resource library. So if you live in Rustic Ridge and you're watching this, I know the borough has promoted it. You're welcome to attend this, and we encourage you to come out and see if you have any service that we can provide for you. And finally, just in case anybody doesn't know, there is a flood watch in effect this evening from 8 p.m. to 11 a.m. tomorrow. If the storm tracks right, Allegheny County can receive as much as 2 inches of rain overnight. So turn around, don't drown, don't drive through puddles of water. If you have flooding in your basement, and that's important. If you have flooding in your basement and the water gets too high, we'll shut off pilot lights to furnaces and the hot water tanks. Make sure you call the fire department. And that's my emergency management report.
Thank you, Chief. Any other civic announcements this evening? Okay, seeing none, President's comments. I do have a couple of things I'd like to bring up and inform you tonight. First of all, just to echo with what the Mayor said and Chief Sims said, the response that we got, not only from our community in Plum, but from the neighboring communities, was absolutely mind-boggling, and we can't thank them enough. I heard recently that 18 different fire departments showed up at the scene. It was actually 39, and if you'll bear with me, I would just like to read off all of the departments that did show up. Fire departments, Allegheny County 911, Allegheny County EMA, Allegheny County Fire Marshals, Blonox-Borough Volunteer Fire Department, Churchill, Cochrane Hose Volunteer Fire Department, Etna Borough, Holiday Park Volunteer Fire Company, Logan's Ferry, Monroeville number 1, number 3, number 4, number 5, Oakmont Borough VFD, PA Spikes Team number 1, Penn Hills number 2, Penn Hills number 3, and number 7, Pioneer Hose Company, Pitcairn Borough number 1, Renton Volunteer Fire Company, Rural Ridge Volunteer Fire Company, Unity, West Wilmerding, Wilkins Township, Westmoreland Engine number 22, 54, 56, 58, 101, and 78. Westmoreland Tanker 1, Westmoreland Tanker 102, 115, 54, 64, 78, 115, 20, and the Allegheny County Dispatchers. Those are the volunteer fire companies, and I just wanted to send a thank you to them. The way this community came together, none of us can be prouder. The way that people responded, not just in Plum, but like I said, the surrounding areas. The first responders in southwestern PA are second to none, and we're really lucky to have them here. So with that, just continued prayers for all those affected, and that will be my comments for the evening. Moving along the agenda now to citizens' comments on agenda items. You already did your, okay, thanks, Jim. Moving on to council actions. On behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, Mr. Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, I move to table the acceptance of an easement from the Whispering Pines HOA.
Motion by Mr. Delaney,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Hadley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to enact ordinance 974-23, accepting the Oakmont Heights Phase 1 dedication of the street and storm lines.
Motion by Mr. Delaney,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Vento. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Lastly, I move to adopt Resolution 960-23, approving the borough to be included in the Allegheny County Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnerships programs for 2024 through 2026.
We have a motion by Mr. Delaney,
I'll second that.
seconded by Mr. Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Go, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. Mr. Hadley, on behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, I move to approve a cost of living increase for a retired police officer as recommended by the Borough Actuary.
Motion by Mr. Hadley,
I'll
seconded by Mr. Seitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
On behalf of the committee, I move to approve the staff salary structure as presented.
Motion by Mr. Hadley, seconded by Mr. Seitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
On behalf of the committee, I move to appoint Michael DeMarco as the Building Inspector Code Enforcement Officer 1 at a rate of $20 per hour effective August 28th, 2023.
Motion by Mr. Hadley,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Vento. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
On behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, I move to appoint David Sabosley as Interim Borough Manager effective August 14th, 2023.
Motion by Mr. Hadley, seconded by Mr. Seitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, on behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, I move to appoint David Sabosley as the Interim Zoning Officer effective August 14th, 2023.
Motion by Mr. Hadley,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Vento. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hadley. On behalf of the Public Safety Committee, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Public Safety Committee, I move to enact ordinance 975-23, amending the civil service regulations.
Motion by Mr. Taylor, second by Mr. Hadley. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And Mr. Taylor, on behalf of the Parks and Rec Committee.
On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Committee, I move to reject change order number 2 for Renton Park Phase 3.
Motion by Mr. Taylor,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Vento. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Oh, okay, we'll finish these first. We'll go back.
On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Committee, I move to approve the request from Holy Family Parish to use Larry Mills Park for their soccer program as outlined.
Motion by Mr. Taylor, second by Mr. Vento. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Hadley.
Yes, my
You're
apologies.
back
I missed a motion. On behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, I move to accept the resignation of Assistant Police Chief Mark Fosseretta effective August 13th, 2023.
Motion by Mr. Hadley,
Second.
second by Mr. Vento. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks again.
Now
Mr.
I'm finished.
Thanks again, Mr. Hadley.
Now we're straight.
Okay, where are we? On behalf of the Finance Committee, Mr. Seitz.
Thank you, Mr. Earl. On behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to approve the grant application to the National Fitness Campaign in the amount of $30,000.
Motion by Mr. Seitz,
I'll second that.
second by Mr. Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Seitz. And finally, on behalf of Roads, Equipment, and Grounds, Mr. Vento.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Roads, Equipment, and Grounds Committee, I move to approve the easement request from Olympus Energy contingent upon the final review and approval of the borough solicitor.
Motion by Mr. Vento,
I'll second that.
second by Mr. Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Also, on behalf of the committee, I move to approve the donation of an out-of-service police funds to the North Braddock Police Department.
Motion by Mr. Vento, second by Mr. Hadley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
That's all I have.
Thank you, gentlemen. Moving along, Mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of things. This past month, our uniform officers responded to 866 calls for service during the month of July. That was a 16% increase over the previous month. One of the things we've been getting calls on, and the police have been very busy, as a reminder, please, if you're leaving your vehicles outside, lock them. Do not leave valuables, computers, certainly not money. We've had a lot of calls about crimes of opportunity. If you're leaving your car outside, lock it. Most cars now have the automatic garage door opener built into the car. You don't think they know how to open your garage door and get in? So do that, please. They're looking for criminals are looking for an easy score. Don't give them the opportunity. We had the ATS radar display signs were deployed on Elliker Road. Had a lot of speeding up there because of the repairs being done to Leechburg Road, Shearer Road, Logan's Ferry Road, Miller's Lane. I won't go into the details with the mayor's idiots who are speeding on those roads. Officers attended a training this month, firearms instructor course, competitive instructor certification training, and drones demonstration training. They participated in several special projects. And this month, thoughtful citizens, this again, Michael Cerniglia of Michael's Printing for delivering donuts from Oakmont Bakery on 2 separate occasions. Unfortunately, myself nor the chief were invited. It's like opening the door and throwing the stuff in and a bunch of piranhas hit it down there. Finally, when you get your donation letter from our volunteer fire departments, donate. Donate. The tragedy that happened here demonstrates what those departments do. Give them 50 or 100 bucks. Because if our fire departments are rated by the state in order to keep their ratings up, that causes if they get a high rating, that causes your hazard insurance to be lowered. So make the investment. And that's it, sir. Other than I had several calls from communities, Penn Hills, Mayor, thank you, from Oakmont, from Verona, from Freeport, want to know what could be done. Appreciated the phone calls. The other thing is I had 2 calls that I know the community donated a lot, and I'm constantly amazed and proud. But I had calls from Gina at John Anthony's and Mike Raschuti of Schuty's Restaurants wanting to know what they could do. They sent water. They were willing to send food and pizza up there. So again, this commuting, I say it every month, is absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Moving on to committee reports. I'm assuming there was no intergovernmental, was there an intergovernmental cooperative?
There was not.
The Finance Committee, Mr. Zeitz.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. So for the month of August, the borough recognized revenues totaling $639,000 and incurred expenditures of just over $1 million. Today, we have received $2.5 million in earned income tax revenues, which represents 62% of the adopted budget. Overall, revenues continue to trend slightly above budget, and due to the strength of the borough's fund balance, the general fund, it's projected that the borough will not have to draw any funds from the 2023 tax anticipation. There are no current budget concerns, and the 2023 expenditures are also tracking as expected. The finance director has started to prepare for the 2024 budget. He's reviewed the schedule with department heads and expected the budget to be presented to the finance committee by mid-October. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Zeitz. Let's see, where are we? Roads, Equipment, and Grounds Committee, Mr. Vento.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Roads, Equipment, and Grounds Committee report for August is as follows. All infrastructure upgrades have been completed for the 2023 paving project. Dairy Construction anticipates paving to start at the end of August. The work on Davidson Road will be completed during the night to limit the amount of disturbance to the business operations in this area. Renton Park Phase 3 is progressing. The basketball court has been milled, the subbase for the pickleball courts is in place, and pouring of sidewalks and asphalting of the courts is scheduled to start in August. Pipe was repaired and replaced in addition to inlet repair on Crestview Drive, James Street, Ligonier Lane, Nassau Drive, Barnes Road, Dinwiddie Drive, Drennan Road, and Aspen Drive. Stormwater pipes and inlets on Rep Road, Ridgemead Fields Drive, and Anderson Avenue were cleaned and jetted. Several inlets were determined to need repairs, which will be completed in the upcoming weeks. The Versalock walls for the Renton Park Phase 3 have been completed, along with planting of grass seed and installation of benches at the cornhole board area. That's all I have of the report, but I do want to echo thanking all the public works, especially because they were on my committee. And I was at the scene the Sunday, the day after the incident occurred, and Chief Sims told me, he said, I can't believe how fast the public works got here to give us a hand. He said, we couldn't have done a lot of the work that was needed without their help, and they were there with machines in an hour of being called out. So that's, that's above and beyond. These guys normally don't get, in the summer, get called in on the weekends, so for them to respond as quickly and as efficiently as they did is a great testament, not only to them, but to their leaders too up there. So I want to thank them. I also want to thank Chief Sims and all the emergency management people, fire departments, and Brian Maloney from the EMS. Everything they did makes us proud again. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vento. Mr. Taylor, on behalf of the Planning and, the Public Safety Committee.
I believe Mr. Mahoney.
Oh, nothing else to add? Okay, great, thank you. Planning and Economic Development Committee, Mr. Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. For the Planning and Economic Development Committee, the Community Development Department issued 76 permits in July. Staff performed a Grady permit site visit with the borough engineer, a follow-up site visit at the Oakmont East Waste site, and a site visit at an open grading violation site. Code enforcement completed 77 residential and apartment occupancy inspections and addressed 23 complaints in July. Additionally, sign removal was conducted twice during the month. Community Development submitted an application for the 2024 Water Restoration Protection Program PRP Improvement Project for pond clearing grubbing for Leanne Court and Cherry Springs ponds. They also submitted a greenways, trails, and a recreation grant for pickleball courts at Larry Mills. That'll be all, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. Parks and Recreation Committee, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Quarterly safety inspections were performed on playgrounds at Plum Creek, Larry Mills Park, and Logan's Ferry Park. A new identification sign was installed at Logan's Ferry Park. The borough custodian took over cleaning duties at the library 2 days a week. And Borough App's upcoming events include Fall Fest on Saturday, September 30th. The fall issue of the In Plum magazine will be in our mailboxes by mid-September. And one last thing, starting Friday, 310 teams are going to converge on Plum, which I believe is the biggest tournament here in Allegheny County.
No, in Pennsylvania.
Our soccer league is having their annual soccer tournament, so I urge everybody, if you're interested in stocking up and checking out some good soccer and helping to support our organization, please just keep an eye on the roads for the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because there's going to be a bunch of little soccer players running around the clock. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Next on the agenda would be citizens' comments on non-agenda items. We did have one individual sign up for that. Carol Reitmeyer? Can you just state your name and address, please?
Carol Ritter, 153 Valley Field.
Thank you.
You need to hit the button down below there, so it says president.
The other one.
Hit it again.
The other one. A red light will come on at the microphone.
It says press the collar.
Yeah.
Hold it down.
Chief, did you break it?
I may have.
fire hydrants in Borough. I was wondering how often they're tested and how we can find out, you know, if the ones in our neighborhoods have been tested and what those results are, because I understand there were issues with water supply.
So the Plum Boro Municipal Authority is in charge of water and sewer in Plum Boro. They do testing every year. As part of the joint press releases you've seen, or may not have seen, between Plum Boro and Allegheny County, Howard Tice, the manager of the authority, was quoted as saying that, you know, prior to this emergency, we had tested those hydrants and they were working. So, you know, once a year, there's a time when you notice that the water in your house, you know, turns a little bit gray and muddy. You know, they've opened the hydrants, they're testing them. So the authority tests those, and I would encourage follow-up with the authority if you want to see any records about their hydrant testing.
Thank you.
Thank you. No one else has signed up, but please, Mayor. I'll get you next.
Please forgive me if I'm out of order here. My name is Pauline Calabrese, and I'm the mayor of Penn Hills, and I know so many of you up here. The morning of the tragedy, I did call the mayor, and I know many of you personally, so I saw you out in the community. But I wanted to formally come here on behalf of the municipality of Penn Hills and offer our condolences on the your community on the tragedy.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Appreciate it. This gentleman was first. Sorry.
The button?
It's not working. Yeah,
Apparently it's not working.
Who's gonna hold the water authority responsible for the fire hydrants not working? I'm from Rustic Ridge Drive. You've not seen, why don't you walk the neighborhood? We have a lot of questions for council. But who's gonna hold them accountable? We see fingers being pointed, no one's holding them accountable. You wanna see the report, when's the last time they inspected the fire hydrants? We're all homeowners, we're all taxpayers. There's another fire in Rustic Ridge. Well, I have to worry about 18 engine houses coming with tanker trucks, going to the high school, having a water lining break. So what answers do you have for me right now? Y'all work for me, right? I'm a taxpayer. I go to a lot of you in office. A lot of you can be voted out. So what answers do you have for me right now?
Well, the only thing we can tell you is, what was said is, you need to, the municipal authority is responsible, and they can give you the information. We don't have that information yet.
Who's the liaison?
I suggest you go to a municipal authority board meeting and ask the questions of their board.
It's coming.
Yeah, and Mr. Dex, when is their meeting, so he knows? Do you have any idea?
I'm gonna tell you here in a second.
Number 22nd.
What is it? 22nd of this month? No, we just had a meeting.
Just next month.
Okay, let me just check here.
Those are the ones that you need to ask that question of. And I also understand that a lot of hydrants all the hydrants were hooked up. They had engines and trucks hooked up to those
I was
hydrants.
there.
Doing 2,000 gallons per minute.
Yeah,
I mean, this system, it can only do so much.
Yeah.
There was just so much equipment, so many hoses. They were pumping a heck of a lot of water, I know that.
I was there when it happened.
I'm sure you were.
There was no water pressure, not one. If you talk to the neighbors that live near the explosion, they'll tell you it was a cripple.
then, again, the questions you should be asking is of the municipal authority board.
Okay, so me as a taxpayer, how do I hold them accountable?
I'd go to the meeting and, again, I don't know how you hold them accountable, but you can go there and get the questions answered.
Do I get the governor involved or Senator?
You're welcome to make those phone calls. I don't mean to be taking over here and being the spokesperson. My suggestion, again, is go to the meeting and talk to the municipal authority board.
Okay.
I'm not passing the buck, we just don't have that information.
That's how we feel it, the buck is being passed. So this is a major disaster. So after every major disaster, our first responders did an abnormal job. You're gonna need a third-party audit to see what happened and what we can do better next time. I'm gonna tell you why the trucks couldn't get up Rustic Ridge. Social media mentioned that Rustic Ridge was being evacuated. Rustic Ridge was not being evacuated. There was people are saying there was leaders, stating to evacuate Rustic Ridge. So what happened was, everybody brought the cars back down towards around 89 Rustic Ridge, and they blocked the path for first responders to get up the hill. I understand all the police were up the main scene, the residents took over. We ended up redirecting the first responders up Meadowwood because that street was passable. There needs to be a third-party audit to see what we can do to help our guys and ladies when this happens again, because it will happen again. There has to be a better coordination. But we were doing all the work. Anybody have any questions for me?
To answer your question, September 28th at 6 p.m. is the meeting for Plum Boro Municipal.
Is that here?
No, the municipal court.
Back over at the old building, they're the building next door.
And who's in charge?
Howard Tice is the manager, Theis, I believe.
Is he a Plum resident?
He's an employee.
He's the manager, right?
The board members are all Plum residents.
The board members are all Plum residents.
Yeah, they have to be Plum residents.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Sorry, I may have missed it. Could you have your name for the record?
Adam Podrat, Podrat, 89 West Ridge Drive.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Yes, sir.
Yes, hello, everybody. For the record, my name is Mike Paris, 330 Thistle Court in Plum. And lived in Plum now for about 2 years, and one of the things after this incident that I think a lot of the community members, I'm sure you've heard, this isn't the first home explosion in Plum. It's been on national and local news, it's been in the papers, and particularly when you look at the ways that people communicate these days, Facebook, these different groups where people are talking about their concerns, et cetera. There's a lot of question out there as to, after prior home explosions in Plum, what action was taken, what investigative action was taken, how it was documented, and then secondarily, what is this council's intention and strategy for doing that same documentation after this? And so I'd be curious if you'd be willing to comment for the group on your plans to address that and how this council might interact with the state and other local authorities to make sure that there is documentation that addresses those concerns, so these fears and concerns in the community are adequately addressed.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but right now, the investigation is with the county fire marshal. Is that over now, Jim?
It is not over.
It's not over,
We're
okay.
still in the same.
So the county fire marshal has jurisdiction. Our guys can't even go up there anymore. So until that investigation is complete, our hands are tied. As far as what we're going to do down the road, there was an explosion, as you mentioned, in Holiday Park, I think last year, the year before, 2 years ago, and the result came back inconclusive. Well, you can rest assured that we're not going to, and nobody died in that explosion, thank God. But you can rest assured that response is not going to be acceptable by this council, and we're going to do everything we can in our power to see this through to the end.
I will also say that, just to refer back to those series of press releases between the borough and the county, one of those many press releases talks about the history of these gas explosions in Plum Boro. And I don't have that in front of me, but one of them was a contractor error. One of them was the one in Hialeah 2 years ago, which is still under investigation. So I wish I had the press release to show you. Carrie, maybe you can find it for this gentleman, but there is an explanation in those press releases. Would be happy to share that with you.
If I may, one final question, just to build on what you shared. Whenever those reports are completed, are they in some fashion accepted by this council, or how, when the report is completed by whatever agency or group has authority to do so, excuse me, how was that report either accepted, rejected, or, by this council in relation to the group that conducted the report?
I can tell you one thing, the NTSB that investigated the one explosion issued a report. It's on their website, you can go read. They just issued a report out there. They don't come to us to accept the report. And just to follow up, I think there are 2 other additional investigations going on. One by the PUC Safety Division and one by the Pennsylvania DEP. So there's currently 3 actually active investigations going on right now.
I can tell you, that's very unusual. You don't see 3 entities, 3 separate entities investigating the same situation. I think everybody's taking this very, very seriously. And as far as these investigative bodies, they don't come to us and ask for our approval. They just make a report. We as Plum Council, sure, we can comment on what they say, but we don't check off and say, yes, we approve this, or we don't.
That answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, that brings us to the end of our meeting, end of our agenda. Thank you all for coming, and with that, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Bento, second by Mr. Hadley, all in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Yes.
Who's Jonathan Silver?
He's another reporter.
Is he?
Yeah, he used to work for the Post-Gazette.
He's about a jerk, just so you know.
Fine.
At the meeting.